Hello guys, so hopefully I am live. We'll find out in a moment if it's working. If not, I'm talking to myself, which is, always a good look. Yeah, good, we're live. I shall just get the comment section up and I'm going to give it a minute and then there we go. And I just want to say hello to everybody. This is going to be a more serious chat. Forewarned, because we need to talk, everybody. We need to talk. So let's talk about being allies. I'm going to get a few facts up here on my iPad and then I'm going to start. So just bear with me one moment because I had a thing that I wanted to refer to. So we're going to be talking about being allies towards people who are undergoing systematic racism, which has come to a head right now in America. I'm going to say a few things to those communities first, and then me and you white people are going to talk, because yeah, I had second and third thoughts about whether or not I wanted to do this live. I didn't want to talk over anybody. I didn't want to talk for anybody. It's not my right. And I sat with the idea of talking about this and I thought, well, being silent is worse because of what's going on in the world right now. We need to discuss it. We need to have a conversation, and I need to address the white people in the room. So you all know what I'm talking about with the George Floyd situation. And I will say, I've been sharing Black Lives Matter. I've been sharing about George Floyd, as well as some of the other atrocities that are happening in America right now. In America in particular, they will be happening all over the world. But the news is shining on America right now. So to the communities who are going through this, the African Americans, and before them, there was a massive attack on Asian America too. I will say the following. I do not wish to speak for you. I wish to stand with you. I am open to being educated where I feel that I am not educated. I want to be a witness and bear witness, and not just that, but to stand with you. And from that point of view, and this will go on YouTube following the live as well, the following points: none of this will be monetized at all on purpose, because I don't want to be making money off this situation. But also, I'm opening my platforms up and inviting anybody who wants to come on my platform and talk about this from their perspective, what they have seen, what they have lived through, their point of view. I open that up and say that if you want to do that, I have this platform available to me and YouTube, and I will welcome you on there. And if all you want me to do for 30 minutes or whatever is to sit and bear witness and say not one word while you discuss what it is that you feel the need to discuss, then I'm opening my arms to that. I'm opening it and saying, my platform is yours. Come speak. Whatever comments will be put out on there. If you don't want to come on video, if you just want to share some things for discussion points, you want to get yourself heard, then I want to do that. I want to offer that to people, because I really don't want to be one of these white people that's like, I'm going to come in here and talk all over everybody. And no, I don't want to do that. And I've been fighting with myself to find the words, because I'll be honest with you, I've been depressed and in tears for the last few days. Like, I've been bordering on tears. And I shared a video that Kellyanne Maddox introduced me to. I didn't know the lady beforehand because I'm not massive in the tarot community. And I shared that on here, which was Shamani Karawak Priestess, I believe is the pronunciation. If I pronounce that wrong, I'm sorry, but I will say that this is one of the videos that I have seen so far on this subject. I cried with her. I think her points are incredible, evocative, meaningful, necessary, and important. And I can't stress the importance of going and supporting that video and videos like it with people in the spiritual community in particular, which is the realm in which we are, working, living, and breathing right now. I've shared that video. Kellyanne shared that video. There are others out there. Do what you can. So now I have said as much as I feel I can say on that subject. I open my arms, open my platform to anybody who wants to come on here and talk about the systematic racism in America, how they feel about what's happening. Any conversation that they wish to have, I open myself to that, because I'm not going to be one of these white people who talks for you. What I am going to do now is we're going to talk to the white people in the room. Because honestly, I've been a bit disappointed by some of the reactions to even things I've been posting on the Facebook page with regards to how white people are reacting to this situation. Firstly, let's address the all lives matter thing. Nobody is talking about you. Feel free to not make this about you. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to not put it into the, well, what is my worldview and what have I experienced? Except it's not hard, is it, to have empathy for other people, to say that this is not my experience, but it's horrifying. To say this is not something that will happen to me because of the color of my skin, but I am revolted that it is happening to other people because of the colors of theirs. You do not get to excuse murder. Full stop. You're not excused from what's happening. Excuse me. I got a hair in my mouth. You're not excused from what's happening because you don't feel like it's anything to do with you. If you're a spiritual being, if you are, I mean, whatever title you prefer, you believe in a collective. Now, that is not to diminish and get into the I don't see color argument. This is that you need to be standing by your fellow human beings and see that their worth is being treated as less than. That innocent people are being murdered. Now, I'm not an American. And what usually happens in these circumstances is at some point, some American somewhere tells me to fuck off because I'm not American. You might want to trace your ancestry. Because if I'm whiter than white bread and I can realize these things, so can you. I'm not going to get into xenophobia too much though, because I don't want to take away from what's actually happening right now in the world. It's not my experience. In the UK, the police doesn't seem to be as bad as the police in America, but I'm a white woman. My experience of this is going to be biased and privileged, and it may be bad in the UK. I don't think it's as bad, mainly because there isn't live ammunition being used, but there is racism within the police force and in general in the UK. And I am and have been ashamed of this country for a while because of the political statements we are making on the world scene, where, you know, for example, people who are chanting on about leave means leave in Brexit, and Brexit is largely based on uneducated arguments based in systematic racism and the xenophobia again. I think in America there is more of a us versus them mentality. I think that is promoted in America way more, that if you are pro this, you're against that. Like, you can't hold varying opinions. You can't have more complicated emotions than that, apparently. If you're, you know, that there is this idea that if you're pro something, you're against something else, which is why I think a lot of the all lives matter thing comes out. Again, it's not about you. To disregard the pain and suffering of people who have been targeted by the all kinds of racist bullshit, but terrifying racist pieces of shit who have the ability to take life and almost seemingly escape punishment. You don't know this fear. You might have a difficult life in some respects, sure, but you don't know that fear. I don't know it. I'm not afraid that if I go up to a police officer and try and report a crime or something, they might shoot me. That's not something that I will ever likely have to deal with. I hope not, because it's horrendous. It's against being human to be okay with this on any level, to excuse it on any level. I think we need to take a good hard look at ourselves. Seriously. I mean, every time I hear something come out of America that Trump has said, it horrifies me anyway. It's just like, what new level of low, scummy, anti-humanitarian bullshit is coming out now, where he blames the former president because, let's face it, he's racist and Obama was black. Or he blames Hillary, who dared to oppose him and she was a woman. At this point, if you know, I think if people are supporting Trump at this point, there's no hope for them. I understand that there's a certain demographic of people it's not going to matter. I doubt we're even going to reach them, to be honest. I doubt they're even going to hear it. And this was my thought too, is that largely when we're talking about what we're talking about here, the people that we're reaching are probably people who agree with us, but maybe we can impact on people who are on the fence. Maybe we can talk to people about what they can do in this situation. What can we do to be allies? Now, I invite anybody who is non-white, who is struggling through the situation, who has thoughts about how the best way we can help is to offer their insights, and for us to do that first and foremost, because I can suggest what I think is a good idea for being an ally, but again, I'm an ally, I'm white, I'm not them, and there are different ways of what people think is good to be supportive. And so the best thing that I can think to suggest is, first and foremost, is to listen to the people who are being targeted and what they want, how they want you to stand with them. Not to think that you know better, not to think that you've got this all sussed out for yourself, but to fucking listen is first and foremost. To say, I don't, this isn't my experience. I don't know what this feels like, but I'm here. I'll try, I'll listen. That's the first thing. And that's why I decided to make the video, because I actually think that is really, really important. And I didn't want to stay silent. I'm heartbroken for my country too. My country is going the same way. It's going down the tubes, I swear. And my country basically voted in a mini Trump. He's racist. He's been caught being racist. He's made racist statements, and people have caught him as, you know, people blaming the other. Tale as old as time, and we need to do better. So what else can we do, white people? Because I'm addressing the white people. You can go check out that video I mentioned earlier, and others like it, and you can educate yourself. And once you have educated yourself, you can go look for ways to help. Now, I thought long and hard about this, about whether I wanted to hand out link after link after link and say, go here, go here, go there, support, you know, this is a good charity that's supporting, helping this cause or that cause. And what I decided upon is this. We as spiritual people know that the more energy we put into something, the more intention we put into something, the more action we put into something, the more the energy shifts to assist us in that goal. So go and research where you can put your money today. Go find out, go make that effort, go take that time, and go find a cause that is helpful. Because honestly, putting your money where your mouth is another way. The National Guard is there now. Put your energy into supporting groups that will support people, whether it's like paying for lawyers, whether it's the groups that are helping the Native American women. Because for me, that has been a cause that has been a heavy on my heart for a very, very long time. If you are in the UK, I know of at least one place which supports Navajo sales, that buys from Navajo people and then sells on their behalf, doesn't, you know, supports them, doesn't take any of their money, buys for them, sells on for the same price, you know what I mean. And so there are things, small things like that in your day-to-day that you can do to support them, the communities which are struggling and suffering because their worth is being railroaded, because they're dying. I'm shaking as I'm making this. I'm hoping with every fiber of my being that what we are seeing is the catalyst for real change at long last, because America is so far behind, and the world sometimes the world seems to be dragging backwards in terms of rights. And these years under Trump have undone so much work to protect people of all kinds. But I honestly feel like his racism is the worst. When you have a stupid pig at the helm, it just encourages other stupid pigs, and I'm sorry to pigs for the comparison. Right, what else can white people do? Sorry, I get quite emotional about this. I find it very difficult to talk about it, and I'm also very aware of not talking for people. As I said, I want to open the platform, and I want to advise white people what we can stop doing, what we can do. Put your money where your mouth is. Support charities or support businesses which help these people in times of need. I'm sure there will be people needing lawyers in the upcoming months because of this, and sometimes lawyers is what is saving people from prison time for the injustices that are being committed against them, which is insane. It's insanity to me. You can protest with people. Again, I'm obviously in the UK, so there is a discrepancy there, but I know that there are protests going on across America. You can share and not allow the racists to hold the narrative, because narrative is going to be really important going forward from here. It's a little bit interesting, isn't it, that in this moment is when Trump is trying to screw with freedom of speech. Now, yeah, some people think it's reactionary because Twitter has finally taken a stand against him inciting violence and promoting his fake news, which he's all about, make no mistake. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because this is the moment, this right here is the moment when it is most beneficial to that would-be dictator of America to start trying to change the narrative and creating division. He's using terminology again where he's trying to lessen the rioting of African Americans and their allies versus when he was saying all good people about his incel club, shall we call them. There are more ways to protest than just being there in physical person. That's why we're talking about the narrative right now, because they're going to want to control that narrative, and the more that we use freedom of speech, the better, on every platform that we can. I've seen plenty of people who feel very much right now that they want to leave, right? They want to leave Facebook, they want to leave Twitter, they want to leave everywhere, they want to go. It's all too much for them. They don't want to be involved anymore, and I get it. But I'm asking you, begging you, hold the line. This is one of the ways in which we can use our voices, regardless of who we are, to hold the line, to see that this is not buried into history by those who want to control the narrative to continue the racist and systematic racism is as status quo. They want, yeah, exactly. They want to make out that protesters are thugs. And there have been reports that actually people inciting a lot of the violence are ex-cops, are people who are inciting violence to make these people look bad. Why? To control the narrative, so they can kill more of them, most likely with the National Guard and all the rest, kill those protesters. There is so much wrong about what's going on, where like these assholes with guns protesting because they can't get to the golf course, like holding AK-50, was it AK-52s? I don't know, I'm not a gun person. I'm in the UK. Like this is fortunately not part of my reality. At least, my physical reality is that's not part of my physical reality. There is so much wrong with that being supported, that AK-52 told-in self-entitled pieces of shit nonsense, and then the systematic wiping out of people who are at their final tether has snapped. They've tried to do peaceful protesting. They had people ranting and raving about people bending the knee in the national anthem, and to me it was ridiculous that people were ranting and raving about a peaceful protest. I have been wondering for a very long time, I have to say, whether or not America will end up having a civil war. I have had that thought for a very long time. I've had dreams before Trump won office, and they frightened me, and we might be at that point. It was basically a Russian-American alliance of soldiers firing on civilians is what I dreamt about. In foster homes and things like that. It was horrible. I dreamt about that years ago, just before he took office. Anyway, we're going to get back to what white people can do to be supportive. So do not allow the racists to control the narrative, and don't allow them to control the narratives in your day-to-day lives, because it might be something very small, but you can fight back against the systematic racism which is present in your day-to-day life. I'm going to tell you, I debated whether to tell this story, but I'm going to tell this story not to virtual signal, but because I think it's important for people to hear. I grew up, I mean, my parents' household was horrible for many reasons, which most of you guys probably know about most of it at this point. But I grew up in a household where they had the light kind of racism. And by the light kind of racism, I'm using big air quotes here. I mean, they used to, you know, the racist jokes and make fun of people, but they're like, oh no, I'm not racist. And I have racist co-workers that like my father had hired people and the friends, and we've been to Indian marriages and all the rest of it, but you know, they still make funny little jokes about racism. And I, as a 7-year-old child, wouldn't put up with this. At 7 years old, I knew this, and probably younger, but I remember being 7 and this was not okay, and just being like, stop it. At 7 years old. Now, if I, at 7 years old, can know that this is wrong, everybody can. Grown-ass adults know this is not okay. Stand in the way of it. Tell your friends, tell your family, stand against it. Because honest to goodness, guys, I don't want to hear a single person be like, well, I don't want to cause problems with my friends and family. I love them. I don't want to challenge their damn worldview. You love them so much, educate them. And I don't, oh God, I sound so Virgo. Just say it's not acceptable, or ask them to explain their joke and why it's funny, and they'll quickly start to realize that they can't get away with it, because solidarity breeds that kind of, exactly, that passive aggressive racism. It's not acceptable, and in your day-to-day life there are things you can do about it when confronted with it. And I will say, I understand that it can be frightening. I've been in circumstances where I was afraid to, you know, say something about the racism being perpetuated because I was afraid of the individual. Basically a man that had an anger problem and may well have beaten the shit out of me. I've been in that situation, so I understand that not every situation is the same, but where you can, where it's been perpetuated like it's funny, and you know, you're in a social situation where you're not going to end up, you know, bleeding on the floor, and maybe even in some circumstances it's worth the risk, because without risk we're not going to change anything. But in your day-to-day life, you can say, no, this is not okay. And I can make this video and I can say this is not okay. Everybody, exactly, we can challenge people, we can educate, we can be confrontational, even though sometimes it is scary. But speak up as much as you can. Ring your elected officials, send in letters, make your voice heard. Say this is not okay, this is not okay. The more people put pressure on their elected officials, the more change will occur. Rebel, resist, refuse. Add your voice to the people's voices who are in desperate need of people to stand behind them, because this is not just them alone. It can't be. It can't be them alone anymore, because if we leave these people to this situation, they're going to struggle. They're going to not see the change, I don't think, because we are not standing with them. We are not doing enough. I don't feel like I'm doing enough all the time. Like, even making this video, even talking about it. And oh, by the way, like, something I forgot to mention earlier, if you do support these causes, like with your monies and pennies, share so other people can see it. Maybe again, I'm not entirely 100% sure, because I really do feel that people should do the research and find these places, but don't be an asshole about it. Don't be white virtue signaling, oh, I'm such a good person because I went and did this and I helped out with this and I donated to this cause, so I've done my part. That's great that you did that, but don't virtue signal about it. I support things financially and I won't tell people about it. I might share the cause here and there quietly, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, guess what, guys, I did today. Like, it's not about us. And that's exactly the problem with that All Lives Matter thing. It's not about you. It's about, the only part of it that is about you is whether or not you're going to be a decent human being and do the right thing by other human beings. Other human beings being murdered by people who are supposed to be there to protect is heinous. The racist government situations supporting this is heinous. And there are things that we can do. Yeah, the All Lives Matter thing, it was one of the first responses to me putting up stuff about, you know, Black Lives Matter, Black Children Matter, Black Futures Matter. And the All Lives Matter thing was one of the first responses with 3 likes on it straight away, and I was upset. I had to walk away from that for a bit. And what I said to that situation, and I'll reiterate it here for the All Lives Matter crowd, no one's talking about you. We're talking about people whose worth is being shown not to matter to some. These people are being told they are not worth as much because of the color of their skin, and they're being shown this by the fact that they're being murdered and raped and trafficked and murdered. And I can't fully get my head around the mental capacity where someone turns around and goes, what about me? Though, I mean, as a woman, certain situations are frightening to me, and you know, there are certain sexist things that happen in our society where it's, you know, men have more privilege than women, right? It happens. But and then if you have a conversation about women's rights, inevitably someone will pop up and go, what about the poor men though? And this is the same thing. Yeah, exactly. But they've been yeah. They want to deflect from the fact they're complicit in disregarding black folks, and they're having their asses shown to them, and it enrages them. I think so. I think so. But again, for anybody who's All Lives Matter, it's not about you, love. It's about these innocent people being murdered in their beds or on the street. It's about, I mean, I've been very worried for a very long time, very upset, very hurt by the Native women situation. And I don't want to speak for them, but I know I'm going to direct you to that video I mentioned earlier, the ones I shared earlier, because she gives us statistics about that, about the missing women, missing Native women in America. that has been hurting me for a very long time, and that is something that I support quietly behind the scenes in terms of charities to try and help against that. That's as much as I'm going to say about that, because I won't virtue signal about it. But if you can do something, and I'm not rich, I'm not wealthy, but whenever I can, and I do. So if I can, and I know, yeah, the missing women, the missing Native women, I can't explain to you, like, I don't know if there's something about it that just breaks my soul apart, and the situation is heinous. It should have that effect, but no one's talking about them. Do you know what I mean? Like, those women, more than any other women, I think, aren't being talked about, and I think that's the part that gets to me, maybe. And I mean, right, anyway, it's not about me. So yeah, again, Trump and his systematic racism targeting Native Americans, their sacred sites, with his pipeline, because he's all about profit over people, and anyone who thinks any different is deluding themselves. His profit is his bottom line, his narcissism is his bottom line, and his racist incel base is his continued source of fucked up support. So there we go. So, white people, it ain't about us. It ain't. Once again, just in case people are joining here at the end, I'm opening my platform for anybody who is not a white person and who wishes to come and interview with me, or who wishes to talk with me, or wishes to educate me. That's fine. On any of my platforms, I'm opening my platforms with wide open arms and saying I have an audience. It's not as big as some audiences, but it is an audience, and I will bear witness and give you a platform if you want it. And if all you want me to do is say nothing for half an hour, and you can just talk, and you can just explain things, and you can just say what you wish people knew or wish people would do, then I'm opening all my platforms up to you. And I understand if people don't want to talk to me. I know I'm whiter than white bread. I understand completely for either way, but I do want to make that offer, because that is something that I can do. And I'm trying to think if we've covered everything about things that white people can do. Controlling the narrative was definitely really important. Like, don't allow them to control the narrative. Also, share the shit out of people who are doing helpful things and are supporting their community, because that is not getting shared right now. And there's a couple of examples. My friend shared one on the wall for me because I wanted to mention this. Right, here we go. There are good people everywhere. This is okay, not that one. Didn't want to share that one. Right, okay, we are going to talk about it now because I've mentioned it. Right, okay, so this is where white people in Louisiana formed a barrier between black protesters and the police. This was using their privilege to try and help others. Now, the thing about this is I've seen multiple responses to this act where white people stood between black, like, because they knew they weren't going to attack, or they knew they were less likely to be attacked, and they were trying to help and protect black people. And some people have not liked this. Some people have said that it is like babying the situation. Some people haven't fully, they don't like this story. They don't feel that it actually supports them. I've seen people arguing for and against it. So as a story, I'm not going to say it's a good story or a bad story. I will say these people's hearts are in the right place, at least with that. Like, they're trying to do what they can do. The story that I was referring to is this one. The Lake Street this evening, hundreds of people walking around in masks with brooms, helping to clean up damage. A peaceful crowd gathered around a wall of National Guards, people walking in with wagons, handing out water, a line of cars to offload trucks of groceries to give to anyone who wants them. The community is strong, the community is rebuilding and healing the city, hoping it continues. And these are people who are protesting by helping their community, by showing up with water, masks, cleaning up, showing up with food to support one another, to support, especially to support anybody who is at risk in riot situations. So that is another story that is not being shared. Yeah, the white saviory thing is an issue with the people lining up, and we have to be careful that we don't think we're going to swoop in and save the day, which is one of the reasons I was hesitant to make this video in the first place, is that I don't want to be doing that. But it definitely does bring privilege to light, that white people, it's yet more proof, as if it's needed, it's not, but it is yet more proof that when white people are stood there, the police are less likely to shoot. So it is documented, recorded proof that this exists and is happening and is continuing, that there is the racism within the police force. Nobody's in doubt at this point, apart from people who are barefaced lying about it, let's be real. So share the shit out of stories, the positive stories, such as the people who are helping. Don't allow them to control the narrative. Don't allow it to say it's all violent thugs or whatever the narrative is that they're using. There is, of course, the flip side of people's right to riot when they have been systematically oppressed and they have tried peaceful protesting for a very long time. And people are like, oh, why can't they peaceful protest? They have, and the police are still murdering them, and people are still refusing to see it. So educate, be there in any way you can, be open to being educated, being open to discussion and debate. Take a good hard look at yourself. I know that I'm taking a good hard look at myself in places, knowing that in the past there are certain occasions where I wish I'd spoken up, but I was afraid to for different reasons. But now we can all try our best to be open to being educated. Exactly right. So the language of the unheard, and to just stand against the racist pieces of shit that are trying to get away with this. I mean, never in my life have I hated politicians so much as I do now. That's really true, Kylie. Peaceful protesters are only wanted because people can ignore them easily. Yeah. So I guess for the people who are moaning and bitching about wanting peaceful protesters, well, tell you what, love, go out, protest peacefully. Sorted. Yeah, buildings are not more important than lives. This is true. The only thing that I had seen that made any kind of valid sense to me was some people were worried that the communities themselves were being harmed by the rioting. But the more that I think about it, is the more that I feel that that is kind of like an excuse, and that long term the communities need the riots, and I'm hoping the riots are going to be a catalyst for social political change on a global scale, because if COVID has taught us anything as well, COVID has shown us the complete ridiculousness of privilege. When COVID began, I was absolutely terrified for the people that they'd locked in cages in America. We've not heard anything about them, and I'm terrified for how many of those people have died in those appalling, abysmal, subhuman conditions, which are not okay. And COVID has shown the discrepancies, it's shown the privilege. Yeah, the community harm is likely to be healed by the community. Exactly. And it is being. There are stories right here. This is a story that So Kylie says, in Portland, thousands of people showed up and were protesting and rioting last night. It looked like the whole community was rioting and protesting. So, yeah. So I really thought about the rioting stuff, because my instinctual reaction is, oh, I like worrying that people are going to get hurt, right? That's my instinctual reaction, like worrying about people. But this is one of the places in which I was educating myself before I wanted to speak about it, because my initial thought was, oh gosh, the people, are people going to get hurt? And then I like really took some time to look at how I felt about the riots, about what they meant, that they were necessary, which, oh my goodness, 42 people in Atlanta were murdered by police last night. I can't even with America right now. I mean, it's the police inciting the violence. That doesn't surprise me. The police want an excuse. And I say this as somebody who, like, I have interacted with the police in the UK, and it's a different world in America, I swear. That, I mean, the racism does exist here, and I'm not going to minimize that it does exist here. But again, the amount of people die, and okay. I don't think a lot of this is being reported either. That's another thing that, you know, I'm not sure how much of this is being reported. So make sure that you use your voices, make sure that you are not allowing them to control the narrative. Again, we're not allowing them to erase people from history, from the now and from history. We're not allowing them to continue the status quo. So if anybody has any other suggestions for how white people can be good allies, now is the time. I will read them out. Because, you know, it's not being reported. There are live streams on Twitter, though. People on the ground. Yeah. Yes, CNN had a reporter hold off on cuffs on air yesterday. Only one reporter, who was a black guy. Yeah. All the other reporters were not. So if anyone else has any other suggestions about any of that, please feel free to go ahead now, about how people can stand with one another. I will say, there's been a couple of comments which I'm not okay with on my my Facebook page. I will not be deleting them, because people need to be held accountable for their shit. So I'm not leaving them up there because I agree with them. I'm leaving them up there because people need to be called out. I've already called out the woman who said about All Lives Matter, and other people are continuing to do that. There are a couple of some of the responses are, yeah, it is like Charles Manson's in charge. It's nuts. Absolutely, it's awful. Right, okay. So I'm going to leave that here, guys. Stay safe if you do go to physical protests. Stay safe. Be careful. Yeah. Call the people out wherever you see it. Call out the racism wherever you see it. I'll leave those comments on my page because I'm going to continue to call them out, and you can feel free to call them out. You have my permission. It's my page. You have my permission to call out people who are being disgusting, because a couple of people are. Anything I can do, please let me know. Anything more that I can do, please let me know. As I said, the platform is open to you guys. I want to support you as best I can. I know that my experience is not your experience, but I want to try and help. So I'm going to send you guys love. I'm going to be doing some magic to protect people tonight as much as possible. I encourage anybody in the spiritual community to do that. Again, don't make a big song and dance out of it. Just do the magic. Share any kind of magical things you think is going to be helpful, but at the same time, let's not be virtual signaling assholes. Let's just try and help in any way we can. All right? All right. I love you guys. Talk to you soon. Many blessings.